Good evening and welcome to Prime Business with me, Winston Taki. And now to our first business story. Economist Professor Patrick Isumin has started. President-elect John Mahama has a unique opportunity to rebuild confidence in the economy by naming an economic management team that will win the trust of investors. He pointed out that building trust among local and foreign investors is the first step needed to bring the economy fully back on track.
I think what is likely to drive whatever movement we see in the first quarter is likely to be pronouncement or confirmation of some of the things that were in the manifesto. You notice that it will take the government the first quarter to put together even its team and to get them to start going. So it's very unlikely that there will be any substantive policy changes that will drive whatever movement of the currency we will see. But at the same time, when the market begin to see who is in the team and their track record and what direction policy is likely to take, it can bring some confidence or it can go the other way. So I think whatever we see in the first quarter is likely to be how the market are reading the team that will be put together, not necessarily any substantive policy changes that will drive any movement in the currency.
Now, Manager of Macroeconomic Research at GCB, Courage Buti, projects a challenging economic outlook heading into 2025. In an interview with Joy Business, Mr. Buti highlighted persistent pressures on food prices, even as inflation eases to 15% by the end of next year.
The CD will continue probably on a path of some depreciation by the marginal rate than we have seen in recent years. And I think the driving factors of that slowdown in depreciation will largely be the improving sentiment of the market. We're seeing the macros recovering. We're seeing GDP numbers turning positive or showing positive signs. We're seeing inflation receding. We've seen, most importantly, the external reserve and buffers kind of improving, supported by the domestic gold purchase program and a number of other initiatives. Yes, we may have resumed external debt service, but it appears that the interest negotiations, and if we do our things well, we prepare ourselves well. Some of the savings that came along the way should help us, in the interim, manage the external debt service without much consequence to the reserve buffers and all that. So on that score, yes, the usual pressures are there. Growth is recovering quite strongly. It means that those sectors that are dependent on imported inputs and all of that will ramp up imports, and you see the bills shoot up and all that. But ultimately, that should generate enough productivity locally and also reduce the importation of some of the things that otherwise would have been produced locally. So I think the balance of things will show that a relative stability relative to the last few years, but not as I was still short of putting a particular rate to it by end of the year. And ultimately, I see inflation receding to around the 15% levels by end of the year, which is I think higher than what the Bank of Ghana and many other institutions may be predicting. But I honestly think that from my module and from the assumptions and simulations behind it, I still see some inflation pressures coming in a bit stronger than they were coming stronger than people would assume it will be.
As the year comes to a close, many analysts are predicting a rebound in the economy for the next administration due to the peaceful general election. Joy Business had a conversation with a senior country partner for auditing and professional services firm, KPMG in Ghana, Anthony Sapon, on prospects of the new year. Let's watch.
With the new government, what are some of the things you think they can do to build back trust for not only the business community or the investor community, but even with our development partners?
So it's important to recognize that change of government has become part of the democracy that we've chosen, and therefore from time to time there will be a change in government. So one of the things that we need to recognize that when there's a change in government, that does not mean that everything is thrown off. So one of the things the new government needs to do is to look critically at some of the good policies that are already in motion and look at them to see continuity of that, and where they can be modified, they have to do that. The second point is that, as I already said, people are looking for the leadership of this government to be able to stabilize the economy. It's so essential. If you don't stabilize the economy, then what businesses and individuals will do will not amount to the needed hope that they have placed in this government. And therefore, I would expect that government will look at expenditure management, fiscal discipline, particularly as we are in the regime of IMF program, to make sure that we are living within our means and make sure that expenditure is controlled. Secondly, we need to focus on revenue enhancement and mobilization. We continue to have within our sub-region among the low in terms of tax to GDP ratio, and therefore an expansion or deepening of the tax net. I do recognize the new government has signaled abolishing some of what may call nuisance taxes. But besides that, I believe that there are also good replacement for non-tax revenues that government can really look at, and that will make up some of the mix. So if government is able to be efficient in tax and other non-tax revenue mobilization, then it will have sufficient funding to be able to implement the policies that it intends to do. And lastly, to keep an eye on our debt management. We need to ensure that our debt management become a focal point of what government will do, and ensure that the journey that we have started, we can bring our debt to GDP ratio down instead of allowing it to go, because if it flip out again, that will be critically a dangerous position for Ghana to be in.
On the business front, how do you think entrepreneurs or businesses can position themselves so that they could be able to benefit from some of the new policies or enhanced policies of the new government?
Yeah. So businesses as entrepreneurs, as we typically say, they take the risk. And therefore, I think that government, of course, key direction will come out in the ultimate first budget of the new government, which is in the first quarter of 2025. But already we can see that the president-elect has also signaled some of the key priority areas that his government intend to look at, which is agric, which is manufacturing, which is job creation, and other areas. I think and Ghana has already been on the part of private sector being the engine of growth. I would encourage entrepreneurs and investors to look at the opportunities that some of these government policies will create and take bold initiatives and work together with government to implement some of those opportunities. Of course, that will require that investors look at capital that allows them to be able to take advantage. But most often we talk about capital, but it's also essential that besides capital, efficient running of businesses. In this context, we talk about good governance, we talk about systems that socially protect people that we work for, and we talk about ensuring that whatever we do, we are protecting the environment, which we refer to as, in today's terms, ESG. So if businesses embrace these principles, it allows them to be able to build sustainable processes. It allows them to be able to connect with both their suppliers and customers and take advantage of demands that are there. The other area is that, luckily for us in Ghana, the Africa Trade, AFTAC, headquarters is situated in Ghana. So we have become the focal point of intra-Africa trade. And I believe that our manufacturing and processing businesses should begin to look at how do we reach and expand into other markets in West Africa and across Africa. That requires efficiency. if you are not efficient, you are not going to produce at cost that you can move to other areas. It also requires a standardization and quality, because you are going to compete against other products and services in other markets. And I believe that if our entrepreneurs look at these areas and take advantage of the wider market that the African market presents, it's also an opportunity to build and improve and grow their businesses.
What's looking at that now, the issue of financing? I mean, how do you think businesses can adapt or adjust to be able to attract some of this affordable financing in order to produce at cost that it's at the barest minimum?
Okay, so it's important for investors or entrepreneurs to understand that when you are attracting capital, the capital is somebody's funds. And what they look out for is primarily, is the person that I'm giving my money to able to pay back the money first and foremost, and also return some profits to me. And in Ghana, we see that most of our medium and small enterprises tend to fail to keep proper records. And if you fail to tend to keep proper records, it's difficult for institutions like banks and other private equity firms that have financing to be able to assess your ability in terms of repaying their money back, because they look at your history, and your history is used to predict what you can do into the future. And therefore, we'll encourage businesses to make sure that they imbibe the habit of good record keeping, showing accurate and complete records of what they transact as what they can do to evidence that when they are given funds, they can pay back. The other one is the credibility of businesses. In many cases, you see that banks today will ask for very difficult collaterals before they give credit. And the reason is that they are always at default, that if people do not pay, they need to be able to fall on some assets to be able to recover. If we have more businesses being credible, and therefore when they take the loan, they put it to good use. And when it is put to good use, the funds are paid back into the financial system, whether by way of equity or through dividends or by way of loans and payback. Then we are enhancing the cycle of the funds flow. And therefore, at each point in time, you can have access to the funds, and you know that you'll be there, you'll be able to attract again. So I encourage businesses to be credible and to be transparent and honest when they go for loans or facilities, and aim to work with it and pay back so that they can also attract more. And then finally, of course, we believe that the government, through working with the central bank, will stabilize the exchange rate as well as stabilize the economy. In that way, it will allow for cost of credit, which currently is high, and we're beginning to see a bit of drop of that, but it's still high for businesses in Ghana, so that cost of credit can also come down. And when it comes down, it allows businesses to be able to attract. In that respect, if you look at the current government, they introduced what we call the Development Bank, that is expected to be providing wholesale financing through the commercial bank to businesses. And the incoming government has also signaled a development bank, a women's development bank, which is also right step to make. And therefore, if that is also created, then of course we have specialized development banks to make sure that they are providing credit either to women-owned businesses or to all other businesses. The key thing is, again, ensuring that these institutions work properly, they work efficiently, and they focus on their core mandate to make sure that they deliver to the intended target. And of course, beneficiaries in turn also show credibility and trustfulness by repaying facilities that they take from these institutions.
In this instance, do you think the Monetary Policy Committee has a role to play here, especially when it comes to bringing down the cost of credit?
So the Monetary Policy Committee has a wider role in terms of price stability, because everything hinges on that. If inflation gets out of hand, obviously cost of operations get out of hand, and financial institutions will price that into the cost of funds, which is the interest rate. Again, it will also affect the management of the interest rate. So the role of the central bank, which is one of the core functions of price stability, is key. So again, we would expect that as we go into the next government, there will be complement between the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana should continue to be strengthened.
Now, the Chief Executive for the State Interest and Governance Authority, Sega, John Boadu, has asked the John Mahama government to pay critical attention to the operations of the authority. According to Mr. Boadu, Sega has a significant role to play in growing the economy through mobilization of public funds. He was speaking to journalists at the launch of the Sega Entities Portal.
This government looks at Sega as one of the most important, if not, it should be the first appointment they should make. I think that is important that we've established these staffs here. None of them are here because of their political whatever. They are qualified people in their own right. And I will least expect that any disturbance in terms of transfers and all that will happen. If not, the entire entity will come down. For me, I supervise and make sure that they do their work, and so just being out does not mean anything. You can get somebody who will place Sega at where it belongs to, and if it is done and done very well, in the whole of Africa, just about 2-3 countries that have the kind of Sega arrangement that we have. Singapore, for instance, developed their kind of Sega arrangement in 1971. 1971. That will tell you the kind of successes they've chalked over the years. Their Sega, that is called Temasek, hold assets to the tune of $800 billion.
It's that time of the year where celebrations and interest in how people get to go to the market and assess the price of gifts and parcels. Here's a story on that.
Hello, welcome to Joy Business Shopping List. Today, I'm here on the Osu Oxford Street to bring you some amazing gift prices you can get for that special someone this Christmas and the New Year. Follow me and let's get you the prices. Good afternoon, Madam Emilia. So would want you to take us through your packages, want to know the prices and then the items that we can get when we buy a package from you, so that we'll know our budget, for the Christmas.
My things are ranges from 450 up to 3,500. The items you can find is about breakfast items, and then maybe breakfast. I have the breakfast one, I have the alcohol, and then the rice and other things. Yeah.
So for example, this particular package here, what would I find and how much is it?
It's 900 cedis. You find rice and everything. Everything. You only need pepper, water, and then fire.
Then you have your food ready.
That's right.
Okay, so take us through some items.
This is for, I think, beverages, or if I may say breakfast. This one contains biscuits, chocolates, and then fruit juice. Yeah, so I may also say they are also for breakfast. Yeah.
So how has sales been like comparing this year and last year?
This year was very great, and I give thanks to God.
How are sales coming in?
Oh, so far business has been good. It's not bad. Yeah, it's good.
So I see that we have lots of amazing packages here for that special someone. So take us through how much you can get, how much our budget would be feasible for such a package, anyone, and let's know the price and the items in it.
Okay, so the gifts are not that expensive. I mean, with as low as 350 cedis, you can get something for that special someone. We have packages at 450, we have 550, we have 650 upwards. So with the 550, you get the 5 kg rice, the 1 liter Coke, we have champagne in there, we have mackerel, we have oil. I mean, there are lots of things. Yeah, I can't literally mention everything. It's a big package on its own. It's not too late. You can still come. Christmas just started. We'll be here till January. Come on. Yeah, New Year and everything.
So there you have it. These are the price range of these amazing gifts. You can get ranging from 350 to 1,000 and above. You just get the right price for your budget. I am Helen Nakai for Joy Business.
Now you know the price of the next gifts you're going to get for your loved one during this festive season. Now moving on, Kasona Global Imaging Limited has announced its readiness to partner with the government in the coming year to provide public health sector with vital logistics and equipment. This partnership is aimed at improving healthcare delivery nationwide through its corporate social responsibility.
In terms of health, we also believe that the new government would bring more infrastructure, would improve the current infrastructure. They would also equip more of our public hospitals so that they will be at par with private hospitals. We can also meet the needs of the general public better. You know, if my grandmother is in a village and she wants to go to a hospital, she's most likely going to attend a government hospital. And if we are able to equip those government hospitals properly, we believe that a lot of people would be able to access quality and affordable health. So that's what our main focus is for the coming year. We believe we can support the government in so many ways. Another thing that we came up with, which started this year, that we're going to take very seriously next year, is the working on projects together with organizations like private facilities and even government institutions. We want to be able to, we have positioned ourselves in such a way that we can provide equipment to these facilities, and then, you know, we have a very structured payment plan that is long-term. That is one thing that we believe is going to take our health system and our health institutions very far.
As early as 6 a.m., I received a call, people asking how is the city going to perform by the end of the year. Now, you go to myjoyonline.com, you realize the Economic Intelligence Unit is projecting the city to end at 16 Ghana cedis and 7 pesos, and also 70 cedis, 23 pesos to the dollar before the close of the year. There are more updates there on the website. My name is Winston Taki, and I wish you a festive Merry Christmas and a prosperous Happy New Year. Enjoy your evening. Sports next. Stay tuned.